Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for this important discussion about public safety in downtown Minneapolis. We're delighted to have a wonderful panel, and I'm gonna start by introducing myself. I'm Steve Kramer, President and CEO of the Downtown Council and also the Downtown Improvement District. Just a reminder, this program is being recorded and it'll be posted on the Downtown Council YouTube channel. We'll send out a link as soon as it's available so you can revisit the conversation if that's helpful. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and your company if you want to do that. And most importantly, if you have a question, please use the Q&A function here, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can over the course of the hour that we have together. The motivation for this session really came out of a recent meeting that we had at the Minneapolis Chamber office, a kind of regular meeting with the mayor and public safety leaders, and it was such a rich conversation that the thought was, well, let's kind of have a mid to late summer update with all of our constituents. I know many of you probably join the regular Friday, every other Friday safety call, but this really gives us a chance to go even deeper into the issues that we're facing and some of the trends that are occurring. So again, very glad that you could join us. And with that, I'm going to invite my colleagues who are co-sponsoring this activity to make an opening comment, and then we will get right to the great panels we have here. So let me introduce Kevin Lewis, who is the President and CEO of Greater Minneapolis BOMA.
Thanks, Steve, and good morning, everyone. And yes, I'm Kevin Lewis, President and CEO of BOMA, which is the Building Owners and Managers Association. So our properties are all in Hennepin County. They own and manage the commercial real estate buildings throughout that area. And I think with Steve's opening comments, you could see that the collaboration between our business organizations certainly shows the strength that we have united together and bringing this program to all of you. And we're extraordinarily fortunate to have the level of officials that will be presenting today. So we're excited to have all of you online to learn as much as possible. And I'm hoping we can get Sheriff Hutch out of his shell. He's kind of an introvert, but you'll learn later on. So that would be my goal when this is over. And I'll turn it to my colleague, Mark.
I'm Mark Nierenhausen, President and CEO of Hennepin Theater Trust, and want to welcome everyone here for this important conversation. And certainly this is an important issue for all of us. Hennepin Theater Trust is a major force with bringing visitors to our city. We bring 600,000 people a year downtown and are an important driver for the hospitality industry. And we understand the concerns of our patrons, and we understand the role that we play in helping to reanimate and revitalize downtown. So we're honored to be part of this and honored to be with our colleagues today. So thank you very much.
Great. And thank you, Mark. Yeah, maybe we throw it over to Mr. Tennant. Thanks, Mark.
Morning. Thank you, Stephen. Good to be with all of our fellow business associations today. Melvin Tennant with Meet Minneapolis, our Convention and Visitors Association, the organization that is representing the hospitality and tourism industry that was so devastated during the pandemic to help this industry recover. And we saw great evidence of that recovery just this past weekend when we had our first citywide convention, the American Specialty Toy Retailers Association, that was in town, ended up on the 8th last Sunday. So that is certainly a great sign of things to come. And we certainly believe that public safety is a strong message that we need to continue to deliver to our potential meeting and convention customers and individual visitors. So that is why we are participating in this particular session today. And we look forward to hearing from all of our panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Melvin. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mark. I don't know if Jonathan has been able to join us yet this morning. If so, Jonathan, please offer some thoughts. Otherwise, we'll maybe catch you later in the program. Okay. Well, great. Why don't we go ahead and move right into our panelists' presentations, and we're going to start with Chief Medario Arredondo. And Chief, really welcome your comments this morning, and then we'll move from there to Sheriff Hutchinson, and then Captain Brooke Blakey from Metro Transit Police, and then finally Inspector Billy Peterson from the 1st Precinct and MPD. But Chief, please take it away.
to our BOMA, Hennepin Theater Trust, Minneapolis, Minneapolis Chamber, Minneapolis Downtown Council. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be in this space with you this morning. I want all of you to know that as chief here in Minneapolis, our downtown public safety is absolutely a priority, and it will remain a priority for me and our team members. I truly believe that public safety is part of an ecosystem, and it requires so many of our partners and community stakeholders to band together to make sure that we're moving our city in the right direction as it relates to public safety. And I have the utmost confidence that we will continue to do that. While there are many conversations and a sea of conversations swirling around presently regarding public safety and what it looks like for the future, I want all of you to know that, and I say this with a great deal of confidence, 4 words that you need to know and hear from me. We will be here. We will be here for our business community, our workers, our residents, and our visitors. We are committed to doing that. I also say with confidence, the leadership that you have right now with Minneapolis Police Department for our first precinct, Inspector Billy Peterson, not another finer leader that can help lead downtown's public safety in the manner that it should be. We also are so blessed that we have a great mutual aid partnership with so many of our public safety partners, including, but not limited to, Sheriff Hutchinson of the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Chief Frizzell, who is being represented by Captain Brooke Blakey today from a Metro Transit Police Department, and so many others. While I'm responsible for the safety of all 4 corners of our city, I will tell you that downtown plays a significant role in not only Minneapolis as we move forward, but quite frankly, our region and our state. We will not allow downtown to fail, whether that's safety on the ground or whether that's even one of those areas which is very difficult to quantify, and that's people's perception or feeling of public safety. I will tell you that we are committed to making sure that we thrive and survive for our downtown. And I will tell you right now, I'm looking forward to our workers getting back into downtown. That is a key role to public safety. I know that there's been some hiccups in a sense with the pandemic, and but the more that we get our workers back into downtown Minneapolis, I will tell you that that is a key indicator. That's a key tool for us to continue to move downtown public safety in a manner that it should be. While our Twins aren't doing so well right now, but I'm happy that every time that the Twins have fans in the stadiums there, looking forward to our Minnesota Vikings starting their season as well again. Our restaurants, we need to see our restaurants bustling and busy, our hotel industry, and our conventions. And I'm so proud to have a partner with Mr. Melvin Tennant in making sure that we're getting those convention schedules back up and running. So just so very proud of that, but we are going to continue to be here for downtown for all of you. I want to say thank you too for all that you continue to do. Again, the last year or so certainly brought its challenges, but your steadfast commitment and confidence and leadership for our downtown community has really helped our city, our region, and our state. And so I want to say thank you again. I look forward to the conversation with all of you.
Great. Thanks so much, Chief. Sheriff Hutchinson, welcome your initial thoughts.
Well, thank you. And I just want to point out the picture here is our U.S. gold medal Olympian Gable. I was fortunate enough to hang out with him at the airport and make sure he got to his destination safely. Even though I can't declare it, I declared yesterday Gable Day. So happy Gable Day. Again, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here. And Kevin Lewis was right. I'm trying to get out of my shell a little bit just so I could be a little more outgoing and more outspoken, because as you all know, I don't say what I really want to say. Of course, that's a joke. But again, thank you, Chief Arredondo, Brooke Blakey, and of course, Billy Peterson have been excellent to work with other people. But we all know my thoughts. Downtown is a fun place. It's a great downtown. I love downtown. I spend time down there. We need to get it back on track. And I think we all know what that takes. And that takes staff, it takes training, it takes getting people to apply for Minneapolis PD, getting people to apply for the sheriff's office, getting people to apply for public safety in general. This is a great profession. We've maybe had some hits the last year and a half, but like my mom always said, we don't judge people by their race, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. We shouldn't judge people by the job they do because of a few incidents where people made grave mistakes, and those people are being punished, and those people are in prison. Those people are no longer cops. So I think we need to make sure we support the good cops. We arrest and if need be, jail bad cops, and that will help downtown because we'll get people to apply, and we'll get people to apply for these jobs who actually care about our communities. I just want to say again, my staff the last year and a half has been second to none. They've worked through COVID, they've worked through the unrest, they've worked through stuff we've never done before, is assist Minneapolis and other cities in our jurisdiction a lot with patrol functions, et cetera. The sheriff's office necessarily wasn't set up for that. As we all know, Hennepin County is a very large metropolitan county. We have 44 cities, 36 of those cities have their own police departments. So of course, we've always assisted crime lab warrants, water patrol, et cetera. But we're taking a different shape. We're hiring more people. September 13th, we'll hire, I believe, 10 officers who are experienced from different jurisdictions to be a part of our VOTIF, our Violent Offender Task Force, and/or a new team that we might start. And that team will be able to assist downtown with Billy and his staff. And these are trained, very, very experienced officers from a few from Brooklyn Center, if you can believe that, a few from other jurisdictions. And I'm excited for them to start because we are going to get out there. We're going to go arrest bad guys with guns. We're going to help people who need help. We have mental health professionals. We have social workers in our dispatch center to aid in calls. Again, that necessarily doesn't affect downtown, but our assistants will. And again, we've worked harder than we've ever worked in the history of the sheriff's office. We've increased diversity more than any time in the sheriff's office history. And that's all going to affect downtown because we're going to get good candidates that mirror the community we serve. Again, I'm excited for this group to start. We're going to go get guns off the streets. We're going to help people. We're going to make businesses downtown hopefully successful. You all know that I will do whatever I can to make sure your businesses and your livelihoods are protected. I think Chief Arredondo has done the best job that he can under the circumstances he has with lackluster leadership from his city council in some respects. And again, we need officers. We need better officers. We need more well-trained officers. Just a little side point. Thankfully, the county board approved a lot of money for an addition to the Maple Grove Training Center, which we are a part of. This is going to be reality-based training. It's going to be second to none, probably one of the best in the state, if not the country. We can test people's ability to handle stressful situations. We can talk about implicit biases because, again, officers do have some biases because we're human beings. We watch TV like the rest of the population. Younger people play video games. So a lot of that stuff's imprinted in our brain. So we're going to train that out. We're going to have better staff. We're going to hopefully staff downtown as much as we can to help Billy. And again, I want to talk about Billy Peterson, the inspector downtown. There's no secret, I think, to him, but what he's done with the resources he has, which is not enough, as we all know. It's pretty amazing that some of their numbers of crime is still kind of level. And that's, again, good leadership from the chief. Billy Peterson, again, is I think if I was downtown, business associations, I would not pick anybody but Billy Peterson, with the exception of maybe me. But with that, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for Captain Blakey. She's been great and assisting us with a bunch of our activities. So with that, I'm done. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheriff. We'll look forward to having some questions thrown at you too. Captain Blakey, please.
Police Department, and I'm excited to be here. I'm just going to shadow what Chief Arredondo and Sheriff Hutchinson said. Metro Transit Police Department is really here to safeguard our transit community, making sure that we're professional while building trust in our community, especially our downtown community. I won't drag on with lots of things, as I think both Chief Arredondo and Sheriff Hutchinson hit that. Metro Transit Police Department is committed to providing more transit security, visibility on our transit system, as well as in our transit facilities and everywhere else. So I'll keep it very brief because I know there's lots of questions that need to be answered that are very specific, but excited to be here with our downtown partners, community stakeholders, and just the community as a whole to keep downtown safe, as well as a place that people want to visit and be active in. So thank you again for allowing me to be here, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you have going forward. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Captain. And then our last panelist, and then we'll get to questions. Inspector Billy Peterson from the 1st Precinct. Inspector, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate all the kind remarks by everyone. We certainly aren't doing it alone. It's a partnership with all of you and so many others. But one thing I like to do in these meetings is just kind of start off, because there's perception and reality, and sometimes perception is reality, is talk about where we are at crime-wise. So I'm going to run through these, and I'll do this very briefly. Overall, right now, we're at 9 homicides year to date. That is a increase. Our 4-year average is 5. So we're up roughly 80% in that category, or 4 more homicides. The one thing I will say is that there's been some tremendous work when those incidents have occurred. In 7 of those, we've been able to get the suspects in custody and charged in a very, very tight time frame. Most around that 24-hour time frame, they've been in custody and charged shortly thereafter. So ag assaults, we're at 240 year to date. The 4-year average is 209, so we're up almost 15% in that category. So we've had 30 more ag assaults year to date. Domestic assault subcategory of that, we're at 48. Our 4-year average is 46.5. So we've had 1.5 more domestic related assaults as a subcategory in ag assaults there. We're at 144 robberies year to date. The 4-year average is 182.25. So we've had almost 38 fewer robberies year to date. We're all down compared to the 4-year average, almost 21%. Sexual assaults, we're at 38 year to date. The 4-year average is 65. So we've had 27 fewer as compared to the 4-year average, are down 41.54% in that category. So overall, violent crime wise, right now we're at 431 violent crimes reported. Our 4-year average is 461.75. So we've had just under 31 fewer violent crimes reported year to date as compared to the 4-year average, or we're down roughly 6.65% as compared to the 4-year average. So property crimes, I'll brush on those real quick. We're at 155 burglaries reported year to date. The 4-year average is 172.75. So we're 17.75 fewer burglaries reported, or down just about 10% in that category. Larceny, we're down fairly significantly in that category. We're at 1,136 larceny cases reported. 4-year average being 1,722.75. So a 34% reduction, or 586 fewer larceny cases reported year to date as compared to the 4-year average. Theft from motor vehicle is a subcategory of that. And we're still seeing a lot of that going on, but we're pretty much dead even. We're at 366, and the 4-year average is 366.25. And I'll touch on something there in a little bit more, but auto theft has been through the roof, and that's a trend that we're seeing citywide. We're at 231 auto thefts in the 1st precinct year to date. The 4-year average is 175.25. So we've had 55, almost 56 more auto thefts reported year to date. So we're up almost 32% in that category. Many of the auto thefts that are taken with keys, and people can do us a big favor if they just take those keys and key fobs out of the vehicles, because they're making them easy targets for people to steal. Arsons, we're at 8 year to date. The 4-year average is 3.75. So it's a small numeric category. We're up by 4 in that category. So up 113%. But overall, we're at 1,530 property crimes recorded year to date, and the 4-year average is 2,074. So 544 fewer property crimes reported, and we're down roughly 26.24% in that category. So overall, that's where we're at numbers wise. And I will say, just like everybody who's gone before me, that I love what the chief says, we will be here. I keep telling everybody that we will give you the absolute best we have with what we have to work with. And I feel that that's what we're doing each and every day. We have a number of public safety efforts that we're doing to try to augment some staffing shortages that we have. My hat's off to Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, the sheriff. We have an outstanding working relationship, and then also Transit PD with the chief, Captain Grades, Captain Blakey. We're putting cops out on Nicollet Mall Monday through Friday as part of the joint beats from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. to show a good presence out there. We're ready for the workforce to come back. We've had so many successful events here in the recent weeks and months. Stone Arch Festival, the Loring Art Festival, the Aquatennial was a huge success. I know I was out for both the parade and the fireworks. Lots of people coming into downtown. They were very, very safe, positive events. Twins games are rock and roll. And I know Jeff Behan just sent me some numbers for the upcoming games. They're starting to pack that field over there, and then they've got a Green Day concert coming up. I was on the phone yesterday with Aaron Leapins. I too am ready for the Vikings to come back. We've got preseason games coming up August 14th against the Broncos, and then on the 21st against the Colts. So those are some successes we have. I truly feel that the more activation that we can do, the more people that we can bring back to work, the more events that we can have, that it will help us with our public safety efforts here in downtown. The other thing that we've got going is a late night safety plan, treating every Friday and Saturday night like they're major events, and we're trying to staff accordingly for those. I've said it in countless other meetings. My hat's off to the chief's office for giving us the authority to put people out on overtime, as many as we can gather on those Friday and Saturday nights, and then we're staffing our operations room and running those things and putting the right people in the right places, and we adjust as needed. But we are not doing it alone. And again, I'd like to throw a shout out to all of the outreach groups that we work with, whether it's Office of Violence Prevention, Mad Dads, Mother's Love, Youth Link, YCB, St. Stephen's. I know that I'm missing a few, but we are not doing this alone. We're all in this together. So I'm going to leave it at that and then open it up for questions.
Super. Thanks, Inspector. One quick clarification that came in through the QA. The statistics you offered were year-to-date first precinct compared to the previous four-year average. Is that right? And first precinct, just a quick reminder for people, is what geography?
That's absolutely correct. So first precinct, when I talk about it, I'm talking about the whole thing. I didn't split these out just for the downtown area. So when I say the first precinct, we're talking North Loop over into Cedar Riverside, down into Elliott Park, Loring Park, the whole of downtown. And the statistics I gave you, the new ones are coming out actually tomorrow, Steve. So the dates for that is current as of 8/2, August 2nd.
Great, thanks. Again, please put your questions in the Q&A. There's some really good ones, and I'll get to those. But let me just start with a couple of quick things that occurred to me through the presentations. Chief, the sheriff mentioned some new deputies coming on board. I know you've got some recruit classes in the process. Could you just give us a quick update on how that's progressing?
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Kramer. So yes, the budget that we were fortunate Mayor Fry supported and was passed through for this year, 2021, includes a recruit class that's really going through their academy now. We also have an academy class, an academy class that'll start late August this month. And we will have another cadet class that is set to start at the end of December. And so we will continue to be asking for more robust classes. I'm also exploring to have a lateral class. And for those on the line here, a lateral class is really bringing on officers who've worked as peace officers from different.
I think we lost the chief there for a second. Billy, anything you could add about the recruit classes? Then we'll go on.
Agencies, much of the training, it's more of an, and again, many of you probably know that our numbers are down, and so this hiring will help us to get those numbers back up.
Great, thanks so much, Chief. All of the agencies represented here are part of the long-standing Joint Beats program, and I think Inspector Peterson mentioned the visibility of MPD and Metro Transit and the Sheriff's Office on Nicollet. Could maybe each of you just take a second to talk about Joint Beats and how it's gone this so far this summer from your respective perspectives, maybe starting with Inspector Peterson?
Absolutely, I can jump in there. Well, from our perspective, it's gone very well. I know we had a lot of conversations with both the sheriff, Chief Rizal, Captain Blakey, and Captain Grates early on to try to get an organized commitment to provide that public safety presence out there on Nicollet Mall, and they all came through. So the sheriff's providing. We're trying to do 4 deputies, 1 supervisor each day, again, from 11 to 9 out on Nicollet Mall. We've divided Nicollet Mall up into sections, if you will. The MPD's kind of taken the southern portion of Nicollet Mall, Hennepin County is in the center, and then transit on the 5th Street platform or along 5th Street. And from my perspective, it's worked very well, and I couldn't be more appreciative of that commitment. We've been out there. I know that for MPD, we're putting cops out there on overtime. Again, because of our sheer losses, my day beat was absorbed back into kind of 911 roles. So we are offsetting that with overtime. And again, it's a great commitment by the chief's office to put those resources out there. I'm getting a great number of cops that are coming back routinely to work that, and I'm getting positive feedback from them. They're enjoying being out there. We're seeing results, and there's some great stories that have come out of that Joint Beats effort. So again, my hat's off and thank you to the Transit Police Department and to Hennepin County Sheriff's Department for assisting us with that effort.
Sheriff, what are you hearing from your deputies out there?
Again, yeah, they're enjoying themselves. You know, one of the deputies I think I talked about, Jason Wong's his name, the last month, and it's not been on all Nicollet Mall. Majority of their time is, but if it's slow, they'll wander off. But I think last week I heard he recovered 17 guns from bad guys. So those are guns that could have been used in shootings or were, but they're enjoying working with Minneapolis. They're enjoying the leadership of Billy down there, and a lot of them, you know, some of these, you know, we have 2 out there that are more experienced in street patrol, and that some of them come from quarter jails, which you know, they do a great job, but they haven't had a ton of experience working the street. So it's kind of a training ground for them too, so we can start training groups. So next year we can have more deputies who are a little more savvy on the downtown streets. So it's going really well. I think if we could have you know, 30 deputies out there, it'd be better. But of course, we're like everybody else. We're kind of short, and we're looking for you know, people to come here, and hopefully next year we can increase that, and hopefully next year we can reduce some of this crime, and let's get back to normal, and then so we can have fun, and Billy can maybe take a vacation for once.
Captain Blakey, how about you? How's Joint Beats going for Metro Transit?
The Joint Beats are going extremely well. The officers really enjoy working with MPD and really working on our platform. We've also included some periodic checks from our homeless action team to deal with some of our unsheltered fellows that are occurring are having issues in the downtown corridor, especially on Nicollet Mall. So really trying to connect them with services and other stakeholders, especially working with the Hennepin County social worker that's out there. He's a wonderful resource for us as well. We're also recruiting and having an upcoming class here in the fall as well to bring in more resources, more officers, as well as our commitment to our transit safety initiative and adding some more customer service agents and CSOs to increase that presence definitely on our transit, our rolling stock, and just in the downtown area as well, to just have more of that uniform presence, as well as having community members that reflect the community that we serve, being a part of transit going forward as well. So the Joint Beats have been great, and working with the Sheriff's Department as well as Minneapolis PD has been a wonderful way to look at law enforcement in a new through a new lens, and working collectively and not just having jurisdictions and territories and tossing the issues back and forth, coming up with a collective and collaborative approach to working out what's best for the citizens and the community downtown.
Great, thanks. Well, one more question from me, and then I'll go to the questions from the audience. Chief, I'll throw this one to you, because you mentioned the importance of back to office, and you're right, the COVID period has had an impact on kind of what we expected to be kind of an inflection point in September. It's going to happen. So the curve is going to flatten out maybe and go a little bit longer, but it's going to happen. It has been happening. It will. A question we just get all the time from employers is to talk what messages to provide to their employees who are thinking about coming back or being asked to come back about downtown safety. And maybe you could just give us your thoughts on that topic, because it's going to continue to be a conversation.
Yeah, no, that's a valid question. So one of the things, and we've certainly talked about this, Mr. Kramer, the pandemic in many respects has created a paralysis of what we're used to seeing in our downtown, even psychologically. I will tell you that my office overlooks the light rail platform, and a little more than a year ago, I was used to every morning, the morning commuters hustling, bustling off the light rail trains, and then of course at the end of the day going home. That obviously the pandemic has slowed that down, but having our workers coming back, it absolutely increases that sense of public safety. When our workers, when our residents and our visitors see more people engaged, actively involved in going to and from work, going to Pantages, going to these concerts, going to a Twins or Vikings game, that creates this sense of safety. It truly does. The other thing that we can certainly our workers, our business leaders for the workers, is that we have a great mechanism that's already been in place regarding our mutual aid. So your workers will see different color uniforms throughout downtown Minneapolis. They're going to see certainly the blue of the MPD. They're going to see the dark blues of Metro Transit. They're going to see the browns of the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. We've even had our state patrol that has helped assist us as well. So we are going to have force multipliers. We're going to leverage our resources to make sure that we're giving downtown Minneapolis the proper coverage that it needs and that it deserves. But certainly getting our workers and our entertainment industries and our conventions back up and going, that is really going to help us move the dial in terms of public safety.
Great. Thanks, Chief. Well, let me go to the questions, and there are a couple to start with, including one from Commissioner Gattell, kind of relating to how the criminal justice system is working, some of the kind of in and out of people going into jail but being released quickly or not being incarcerated at all. I know some of that is related to COVID, but as we're coming out of COVID, how's that impacting the ability of all of you to work to keep our community safe? And Sheriff, I know you think a lot about this. Maybe I'll throw that one to you first and then see if others have comments.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, I work with the commissioner very closely. She's a great ally for us, not only in her district, but for all districts in the county. What we need to do, as far as, we talk about police reform, we talk about reimagining the police agencies, etc. I honestly believe that we need help and we need to do better, but the judicial system also needs to do better. There's programs in place to help people suffering from mental health crisis. There needs to be a lot more work done. Those people don't belong in jail. The people suffering from addiction, opioid crisis, we have stops, tribal through overdose prevention. Like, those people do not belong in jail. They belong in care facilities where they can get better. They can get therapy, they can get medication. And we're doing a lot of great stuff in jail with our medical assisted treatment for opioids. It's one of the best in the nation. It's not because of me, it's because we have great medical staff in there. But the revolving door of violent criminals with guns, I mean, if you're a felon in possession of a firearm, even 5-10 years ago, if you were a felon in possession of a firearm, you did time automatically. Now sometimes it doesn't work. And there's people that get arrested 3 or 4 times with being felons in possession of firearms, which I smile, not because it's funny, because it's so out of control and outlandish that, like, we can do better of helping people in their first time offense. If they steal a car, or if they do something stupid that makes them a felon, we can work them, get them out of the system, make them better citizens, get them jobs, get them education. September 8th, we'll be announcing a new program that we've adopted through the Flint, Michigan area that's going to help our inmates adapt to real life. But what we have to do is, if people are running around shooting people, people who run around with guns, people around robbing people. Well, those people need to be incarcerated for a long time. They need to be helped. They need to be, fixed in a better word. And we're doing that in our jail. But if we're chasing these people nonstop, we're arresting the same 10% of people over and over again. The judicial system has to step up. They have to change and they have to do a better job, just like we do, just like anybody in government does. So let's help people who need our help. And then people who continuously want to cause crime, violent crime, they need to be held accountable, and they don't need to be released on bail within 5 minutes. They need to do some jail time. They need to get some help, and they need to be held accountable. That's my personal opinion, and I'm sure the chief and Billy have others.
Yeah, please add in, Chief or Inspector.
Yeah, I can jump in here. I couldn't agree more with Sheriff. We are seeing a large number of people who are repeat offenders, and we deal with them day in and day out. We wholeheartedly admit that we can always have improvement within law enforcement, but we also need to take a close look at our courts, because with the pandemic and so many other things going on, we are seeing these same offenders out left and right. We do have success stories here and there. In fact, I just got word yesterday, one of our repeat offenders, William Arthur Luckett, he had been doing numerous robberies. He hit Nicollet Diner twice. The last time he robbed it, he ripped the till right from the counter and made off with it. During a couple-week time frame, he had 6 different robbery or felony level theft cases that we had apprehended him for. He was right back out. At one point here recently, he had 5 felony warrants for his arrest. We were able to get him in custody here several days ago on some new charges. And then he went before the courts and he was just sentenced to 27 months. He was shipped up, I believe, yesterday to the Minnesota Correctional Facility in St. Cloud. So that's hopefully a 27-month reprieve for not only us, but the victims who were on the other end of his reign of terror, if you will. So there's so many other cases and names that are familiar to everybody, not only in this precinct, but in other precincts and in other jurisdictions where these people are out and they're just continually committing crimes. I too believe that we have to do a better way of holding those people accountable.
If I could hop in and say that I think we're also working with our other system partners in there. I think for this to be successful, as Sheriff Hutchinson and Inspector Peterson talked about, we have to include, and I know each of our departments have been including the city and county attorneys, judges, the courts, as well as our social services systems for it to work completely and to work with our individuals that are suffering from all of these things. It has to be a multi-system approach, a wraparound approach to making sure that we are integrating all of the system players, and exactly what Inspector Peterson says is giving a reprieve, getting people who need to be committed or all of those other things into the correct spaces. Because as we see revolving, and I've seen it in several questions, how do we deal with those individuals that keep continuously being involved in criminal activity or making us feel unsafe or doing unsafe things to them? It's really getting the hospitals involved. It's getting social services involved, because a lot of these things are not criminality. They are subjects of misdiagnosis, opportunities to deal with drug activity, all of those things. And so really our biggest thing, and I think we've been doing well with that, is really working on who the predators are and not who the prey are, and trying to figure out how to stop that criminality in that level so that it takes the drugs and the opportunities for those things to step away. So I think really what we're working on collectively is really looking at how do we address those system-wide things, and how does that affect our community, and what partners we can get to really alleviate some of those issues, because it's not just one thing, and we've all determined that we cannot police our way out of it. And actually all of the departments represented here are not interested in policing their way out of it, but finding a long-term solution to work with our community, because everybody wants to feel safe. No one wants to get on a train. No one wants to stand downtown. No one wants to go to a restaurant where they can't enjoy that without all of those different things. So I think that it's very, very important that we look at all of our system partners, continue to engage them in those necessary conversations, and then kind of push the envelope and say, this is what we need from a public safety. This is where we need healthcare. This is what we need from education. And I think once we all start addressing those things, that then we can have a better outcome for those that need to really work with our community. So I thank you.
Thanks, Captain Blake. You got a lot of good comments in the chat for that. So appreciate those comments. And it might be interesting for people to know that there is a Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that does try to bring the different elements of the system together that really do have to work in sync. Chief Arredondo, maybe a last comment from you on this topic, and then we'll move on to another subject.
Yeah, no, I think that all the panelists have really talked about, again, how connected the system is. And we're going to, in order to improve upon it, we all have to get better in our lanes and reach out. We also have to be very innovative and creative and think of how we can look at some of these very challenging issues that are impacting our communities. It was nice to know that we do have some of our Hennepin County District judges that have gone out to certain communities. I know Lake Street for one of those, and have been leaning in with those community partners over there to hear and see firsthand some of the challenges that they're facing. Oftentimes when we think of victim impact statements, we think of an individual, but we oftentimes forget that neighborhoods or business districts are impacted as well from the acts of individuals. And so yeah, I agree with the panelists, and we'll just have to continue to keep improving on that.
Thanks, Chief. So prior to COVID, about 40% of the folks that work downtown came via transit. And, I know Metro Transit is working hard to get service restored. They've been dramatically affected by the pandemic as well. But again, just the safety issue is a concern, reality, perception, all of those issues. So Captain Blake, maybe I'll just ask you to reflect a little bit on that. I know you're introducing some new resources through your I'll call it the ambassador program. I know it's not exactly that, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're doing and how you're as a system working on getting confidence back in the transit system.
Yes, so we did have the general manager as well as Chief Frizzell hold a press conference on the transit security initiative that is coming forth. And what that is using our community service officers as well, adding additional community service officers as well as additional officers to provide exactly that presence. They will be in a little bit more of a softer uniform because as what data and research has shown us is that it needs to still be welcoming, but have an authoritative component to it as well, but approachable. These individuals will be, unarmed, and for us in the law enforcement community, that means without a gun, but that doesn't mean that they will not have other safety safety equipment with them to keep them safe, but also being able to provide that customer service piece, give directions, be that presence, be an extra set of eyes, utilizing our real-time information center with the multiple cameras that we have throughout the city to have additional eyes and be able to focus resources on where it needs to be and what's the appropriate resource, because every resource or every response is not a police officer. So do we need social work? Do we need an outreach? Do we need homeless outreach? Do we need a combination of both? And so what transit is really trying to do is kind of step a little bit outside of its lane and provide not only the safety and security component, but also some of those community service pieces together with our other community stakeholders. So we have Mother's Love that's also working with us. We have St. Paul Ambassadors in downtown St. Paul. We're adding additional resources to downtown Minneapolis as far as contracting and getting more of our community service officers out there to engage in exactly that, being that presence, making sure that we are there and in stopping some of that harassment that we're seeing, some of the aggressive panhandling that we're seeing, and just providing that extra presence to let people know. Generally with human behavior, you find the more people that are around because COVID has kind of diminished that. So we're trying to put more people in the area so that they can just see that other people are watching, and people tend to behave a little bit more secure when they see other people that have radios and are present and can actually call police or whatever service that they need to effectively keep them safe and secure. So we are just really doing enhanced camera monitoring, and then really getting back to, if you see something, say something, and really saying that safety takes involvement from everybody. So it's not just the police present, but as well as everybody that needs to be involved in that. So just continuing to work with our community partners and continuing to just have that presence.
Thanks, Captain. Quite a few questions going back to the kind of the staffing issue, which the chief has raised and the sheriff commented on as well. Maybe, Chief, if you could talk in a little more detail about kind of where the department is now. You talked about the recruit classes and what your kind of vision for moving forward from here is, and how this is all affecting your current ability to kind of conduct your safety activities.
Yes. So, staffing for any organization, making sure that you have adequate amount of resources is really important in terms of making sure that you can do the job effectively. And you're also making sure that you're taking care of your people that have to do the job the best you can. We are down about a third of our sworn staffing levels from last year. So what has that done to us? As an organization, we are operating in a capacity, at least right now, that I wish we didn't have to, and that's being very one-dimensional. That means that you've got to make sure that when a person picks up the phone to call 911, we have a squad car that can assist them, and that if they happen to be an unfortunate victim of a crime, that we have enough investigative capacity to investigate their crime. That's where we are currently today. With that being said, we've got a couple of tracks that are moving forward. The hiring is going to be very key. I will also just say too, it's not only hiring, but quite frankly, it's retention. Many of the circumstances that have played out over the past year and a half has certainly impacted our employees. Some have left for reasons such as disability leaves and others. But we really need to make sure, and I say the collective we, those who support public safety, we really have to make sure that our people, our men and women, are being appreciated and supported. And that's how we keep folks staying here, doing the job we need them to do. So we need, the hiring has to be a big piece. Quite frankly, in this industry of professionalism, being a peace officer, I also want to make sure that our men and women are compensated justifiably for the work that they do too. So, and also we're looking at even such things as hiring bonuses to really attract and draw those folks in. I mentioned the lateral piece. The other thing that we're doing right now too, as we're building up the staffing, is the mutual aid that all of the partners on here have talked about. Sheriff Hutchinson's teams over the past year are stepping in and doing things that they traditionally did not have to do. But because the call came out, the relationship that we have, they're out there assisting. They're assisting us. They're assisting Inspector Peterson's teams. Captain Blakey's folks are working with us, whether it's extra patrols around the transportation hubs, whether it's also her team reaching out to homeless, those experiencing homeless in our downtown. So all of us are learning to work creatively, being innovative, but realizing that our number one goal is public safety. So, but the staffing, absolutely, that's going to continue to be a focus point for me. The hiring is going to be important, but just as much as the hiring and recruitment, retention, making sure that we're retaining the men and women who continue to show up in space day and night to really provide, protect, and serve our community.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
And if I could piggyback off of what Chief Arredondo said, I think one of the things that's most important is also doing that character-based hiring. We are really looking at hiring people who are interested in being a part of the community, not only policing the community, but being a part of the community as a whole. And I think that that's very intentional. And I know a lot of our officers are, yes, exactly, filling in for overtime and doing all those things. So we're really looking at some of those other components, which are officer wellness, which I think is very, very important, as well as, the officers and our partners mental health as well as we go through this tumultuous time. We all are human as well. We all have families, and we're experiencing some of those things as well, the same COVID experiences that some other people have. So I think it's really, really important that we're looking to get people from the community reinterested in law enforcement and really talking about public safety as a whole, and involving other entities, like the Violence Interrupters and Mad Dads and Mother's Love and all of those other community entities, the Native American protectors, all of those different things, and having them help represent our community. So I really think that it's an overall approach to take care of not only the officers that are showing up, but also how they represent in the community, because they're from the community, they want to be a part of the community, and they want to keep it very safe. So I think it's important that we talk about that mental health component. I know Sheriff Hutchinson has a mental health component for his deputies, and we're all trying to pilot some of those programs and follow from his leadership in that area. And so I think that it to have healthy officers working also helps us have a healthy downtown community as well.
No doubt. Thanks, Sheriff Hutch. Maybe I'll throw this one to you. This is a downtown centric audience, so this certainly is on people's minds. We came off the Chauvin trial and all the preparations for that. What, if anything, can you share with this group about kind of preparations for future trials, whether it's the Potter trial or the other officers that were involved in the murder of George Floyd?
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Kramer, if I could just back up on that last one.
Please.
I think it's a very valuable remark. Remember 2 years ago, maybe longer, Chief Arredondo, and I believe the mayor asked for several hundred officers. This is before the George Floyd murder. This is before they lost a third of their agency. Even before all this, Minneapolis, compared to other city of its size, was short or down officers. You compare us to Denver, Atlanta, several other cities where they have 1,500 cops. So it's important to realize that even before we lost, and when I say we, it's our community, lost a third of the officers, we were still down to what the national average is. And that's important. And again, that's the leadership that Chief Arredondo has proven before all this being short, now being even more short, is, I don't think there's a chief in the nation that can handle this. So hats off to him. And when we talk about, police reform, police reimagining, I stole this from the Flint, Michigan area Sheriff Swanson. Police evolution is what we should talk about. We know that we're kind of still stuck back, 10, 20 years as far as technology, as far as training. I think what happened to Mr. Floyd and his murder and other people, let's build on this. Let's make Minnesota the #1 place for evolution in this great industry. Policing is still a great industry. We have a kind of a black eye right now because of some stuff, but 99% of us do the right thing, the right times. We make mistakes. We realize we're not perfect. And like I said earlier, we want to fire bad cops. We want to get rid of bad cops as much as anybody. Police evolution is what we should talk about. Let's make sure that we're catching up to the airline industry, the medical industry. They have so much technology and they're so much better than they were 10 years ago. And we're kind of in limbo of like, yeah, we've got body cameras, we've gotten this, we've gotten that, but let's get us to these other professions. Let's get outside influences to help us. I use the airline industry, for example. When pilots have, emergencies, the engine blows, you talk to them, you listen to them on the radios, how calm they are. They have 200 some people on their planes and they're going to land in a river, or they're going to land on a runway or street. Let's use that for de-escalation, for our personal control of our emotions. Why don't we steal some of their stuff? I think that's what we need to do. So the next thing about the trials is I think it's important. We learned from the Chauvin trial. We learned that maybe we could have done better as far as more community outreach. Maybe we could have done better with our security fencing, make it a little more aesthetic, maybe a little more better as far as what the outside influences are. But we still know from January 6th and our nation's capital, that we just can't be willy-nilly and just, hey, we'll put some people over there and hopefully nothing happens. We have to make sure our facilities are secure. We have to make sure the government center, wherever the court hearing is going to be, is secure. So anybody can get their day in court. They can be tried by a jury of their peers. We got to protect our jail. As you know, last summer, groups broke windows and tried to break into jail, which I think is ridiculous. And I've never heard of something like that. But they try to break into the unsecured part. That will not be allowed to happen under my leadership as sheriff. If we'll stop that at all costs, because we have several hundred inmates in there and several hundred staff. And we've seen in Portland and different parts of the country where they actually started government buildings on fire. We can't allow that to happen. We can't have loss of life. So we understand security is important, but also community outreach is important. And the way we do things, we're going to do a better job with the fencing, maybe less intrusive. So we've learned a lot. I think we're a national model as far as big trials. So I think the next few trials hopefully go as well. But again, we've extended ourselves out a lot to different agencies. During these trials, we're going to ask a lot of help from Minneapolis Metro Transit and Sheriff's Office from across the state to come help us secure these facilities. We want to make sure people have a place to protest. But again, safety is our #1 concern. And I think we're going to be there. And I think we've learned a lot, and I'm excited to see what happens, and hopefully justice will prevail.
Great. Thanks, Sheriff. Maybe a couple last questions, and then we'll wrap up for this morning. One just sort of informational. If people have concerns they want to share or information that they want to communicate to any of your agencies, what's the best way for people to do that? Maybe start Chief or Inspector with MPD, and then the Sheriff's Office, and then Metro Transit.
I would say if it's general information regarding public safety matters for downtown specifically, I think the first precinct, contacting the first precinct, Inspector Peterson, if you've got a number or another area you think, but certainly anything that's impacting downtown, the first precinct, I think Inspector Peterson's shop would be the appropriate place.
What's the best way to get that information to you, Inspector?
It comes in through a number of different ways, Steve. One way it can come in is through our Safety Communication Center. As you well know, DID does an outstanding job with that. Right now, he's on a much deserved vacation, but Shane Zahn is another catalyst. He's got a direct link to me. We communicate daily, even when he's on vacation, it seems like. But you can get a hold of me directly. My email is billy.peterson@minneapolismn.gov. I can certainly put that on here, or Ashley is typing right now. Ashley, if you can throw my email on there, it would be outstanding. Or you can call my office at 612-673-3031. But we keep open lines of communication. We're always available via phone, email, or through Shane Zahn, and any other forms that guy uses to communicate with us. So
great.
Let us know.
By the way, I won the over/under in the office on how long it would take for Shane's name to come up here. So,
did you?
Yeah.
Like
Sheriff, anything from the Sheriff's Office or Captain Blakey from Metro Transit in terms of communication, and then we'll wrap it up.
And I think for us, the easiest way is to go to our website, and then there's which is hennepinsheriff.org, and there's a list of emails for myself and my command staff. So again, that's hennepinsheriff.org. Or you can email me too at sheriff.hutchinson@hennepin.us. Again, that's sheriff.hutchinson@hennepin.us, and that gets checked by a few people, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And look forward to hearing from you, because again, I love downtown, and I especially love Shane Zahn because he takes vacations every day, it seems like.
Captain?
The same. I think Ashley has our customer service number, as well as my email, which is Brooke, BROOKE.Blakey, BLAKEY @transitpd.org. As well as contacting Shane Zahn. He's been a great conduit of keeping us all in the loop and giving us any information that we need to do so that we can respond to our community downtown and answer whatever questions that they may need. So that's what we have. I appreciate it.
Super. Great. Well, thanks to all of you. We didn't get to all the specific questions, but I think we touched on a lot of the key topics that came up from people who were on the call. Thanks to everybody who called in, and let me just ask my colleagues, Kevin, Melvin, and Mark, if they have any final comments, and we'll wrap up for the morning.
There we go.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
Okay, you can. Okay, good. Well, thanks. I think everyone on this call understands that this is a very complex issue, and there are many individuals and plans in place to help us return workers back to downtown, conventions, those that want to go to theater and so on. And we have such great partners and very dedicated law enforcement officials. So I'm very optimistic.
I just want to echo that and thank all of our partners in law enforcement. We've always had a close working relationship and appreciate their understanding of what we do and what we contribute to the community, and the role, the partnership that they play in making what we do possible. So thanks to everyone here, and thanks to my colleagues, and thanks to everyone on this call.
I'll just simply echo those comments. We appreciate the partnership and the opportunity for continued dialogue and making our city better.
Great. Super. Well, thanks everybody for a really engaging conversation this morning, and have a great rest of the day. And thanks again to everybody for being part of the dialogue today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.